always, we're gonna screen share. We need that one. All right.
You're gonna have to do the reading for me tonight because I got the book, but I ain't been able to find it yet.
I know I supposed every time I'm supposed to be able to try to send this out. I don't know, man. I keep having I just gotta figure out something because I got so many books here that I can give y'all. But I am having a hard time sending them. That's the whole problem. So we're gonna look at a few things tonight and continue where we was at, and so we can keep rolling from where we was at last week. And then we're gonna look at a couple of videos today too. So okay, let's go ahead and get started. I think we left off here because I made sure I marked it so we can come back to where we were. And it was talking about the Babylonian Talmud, and that's just one of the books that we're gonna learn about during this series too. So right now it's saying this is where we left off. Although they are called Jews, a term which is derived from the word Judah, these people are not true Judahites, but became a mixed or hybridized people consisting of Edomites, Hittites, Canaanites, Judahites, Babylonians, Ishmaelites, Huns, Khazars, etc. When they migrated to other lands throughout the centuries, they retained their Jew or Judahite identity, but brought with them the religion of Babylon. And see, this is what we got to understand. And a lot of these Elohims that they bring out of Babylon, that's who they really worshiping, right? And they're trying to give you some kind of pictures of the Hittites, Canaanites, which we know were what? They were Ham seed.
Mm-hmm.
So he mixed with everybody. So you don't never really know who. That's why some of these leaders, I never trust them because that could be part of his, well, we know that they're in the organization because they all Masonic, which also came from these people too, which ain't nothing but devil worship. I don't care what they say. You know what I mean? So, it's like you just don't really have nobody to trust but Yah. So because they all around us. Now let's keep going. Now, and he said the Jew bears a feature of races Esau Edom mixed with. Because of the Jews' mixed ancestry, or the Jewish people's mixed ancestry, history is sketchy as to their origins in Japheth, Esau, or other people in the Bible. However, identification of these persons or tribes can also be ascertained by the characteristics, prophecies, etc., revealed about them in the Bible. Since Esau Edom is one of the more predominant figures in the Bible, we will endeavor to ascertain his identification and place in historical and current events by these means. Let's see. So this is chapter 2, all worlds are staged, world events and problems. There is a great deal of confusion as to the nature of world events. There are mysterious political changes, sudden international conflicts, wars, peace talks, financial upheavals, and disasters, government corruption and oppression, problems with churches and schools, a change in moral values, and talk of a new world order. So this is one of the things that we got to understand. This right here, the churches, this is one of the things that these dispensationalists, all that comes from him. All that comes from him. So here he is, so again, remember I told you, it's not about a white-black thing. He hates everybody that's not dealing with him. If you're not out of his bloodline that he thinks, how he looks at it, he really wants to get rid of you. So he has most of the world, all these different type of religions. He's in that. And we're gonna show you, like I said, we're gonna look at some videos tonight, buddy. I got like 2 that we're gonna look at, but we gotta understand who this person is. And we got to really look at ourselves. Even me, I definitely got to look at myself because it's time to get it together. It's time to go all in. We got to start making sure we try to put Yah in the forefront because you don't have nothing else but him. And these people, they're doing their job. Now let's look at this. Much of what has happened and much of what is happening in the world is being misconstrued and misunderstood by ministers and politicians. Because you can cut on the TV and watch a show, some of these churches. What do you see in the background? You see that red star flag of the Rothschild, which they tell you is the Star of David. And they got these people, they got to help the poor people over there, all this type of stuff. And the government is already giving them, these people get checks every month. You can't get nothing because guess what? They done infiltrated the White House. They're all over the place. They run this whole thing. Now watch this here, statesmen, writers, teachers, and historians, and all for the same reason. This book is intended to shed some light on why most are in ignorance about such things which are or have occurred in the world. In order to help us understand certain historical and current events in the world, let us reflect back on what the great English playwright William Shakespeare once stated, that all the world is a stage and the men and women in it merely players. The statement is based on obvious observation that certain people and nations appear to be acting out a prescribed role in history, as though it were planned in a play. It is though some persons or races or nations were assigned a character role and are destined to follow his role assigned to them while they own the earth. The statement by Shakespeare also has a divine significance to it and a divine scriptural basis, as much of what has happened in the world has been acted out in accordance to Yahuah's word and his plan for the world. It is not by accident that certain things happen the way they do or that certain people act the way that they do. So it's already been planned out by the Father. Everybody's going to play their role whether they know it or not, because his will is going to be done. The plans of Yahuah and the providence of Yahuah revealed in the Bible are at work in the world. Thus, the Bible is actually much like a script for a play. It is writing a type of manuscript from Yahuah about his certain people and events. It should be noted that the word scripture means anything written. Webster says it comes from the Latin word scribo, meaning to write. The word script comes from the same Latin word and means the same thing. The word scripture is used in the New Testament and is the Greek word graphe, right? Strong's number 1124, and is derived from the word grapho, which means to write or describe by writing. Thus, in scripture, Yahuah is describing things through his messengers by writing. The Bible then is much like a script for a play. It describes and contains in its writing those things essential and to any production or play to be acted out on stage. The Bible, being like a script, contains following attributes of a script. It has a story or stories to tell. It has an author, which is Yahuah. It tells of and describes certain actors or characters and their role in the story. The characters in the script are individuals, nations of people. Some have short roles, others have long roles and continuing roles. It describes certain scenes or events that have or will or are certainly or currently transpiring on stage. I'm struggling too, Nate. Woo. The stage is, and Shakespeare stated, the world or the earth. This is where everything takes place or where all acts and scenes are performed. It has a theme or themes which the stories and events revolve around. So the Bible is Elohim's script or writing or what is to transpire in the world and identifies the characters involved. The confusion and misunderstanding so many are having with what is going on in the world today is that they don't know who the main characters are or their roles in the script, which is very true. Because when you look at, even like say for the Pharisees, how many people actually understand who the Sadducees and the Pharisees were? If you just went around and just actually did like I'm thinking about doing that, going out and interview people, man. So can you tell you go to church? Yeah. Who are the Sadducees? Well, who are the Pharisees? I mean, even when it comes to these people, most people, what do they tell you? They're the chosen people. That's ingrained, burnt in their mind. So, for instance, imagine yourself watching a play on stage and one character who you believe to be a servant is actually a nobleman. And the actor who appears to be the hero is playing the role of a thief or villain. One character enters on stage and you don't know what role he is following and are unable to identify him as one of the characters in the scripts. You can see how all the events transpiring on stage right before your eyes make no sense. And any attempt to interpret what is happening and what the play is about could only lead to erroneous conclusion. Even with the script in front of you, the story still would be misconstrued if unable to identify the characters in the play. The same situation exists with many events in the history of the world and how they relate to the Bible. Elohim had chosen certain characters or people to act out certain roles and to be part of the certain events in the world. Without knowing who these characters are, not only are the events that take place in the world confusing and misconstrued, but it will close much of the Bible to true understanding, which is so true. If you don't understand these characters, boy, you're gonna be lost in this. You just ain't gonna understand. You're gonna be following the blind, right? And then what the blind lead the blind. What the book said, they both fall in the ditch, and we know that the ditch is what? The lake of fire. It is critical we understand who the characters are and their proper role in the script. To help clear up the confusion, we will attempt to identify one of the main characters in Elohim's script, that being Esau or Edom. Right? We can identify who is Esau Edom by reading in the script Bible that was written about him and what he has to be doing on stage, which is the earth. What his role was to be predestination, and what characteristics and attributes were assigned to this actor. Prophecy by the author Elohim. We then need to compare all this to historical and current events and see if any of the persons or nations involved fit the role of Esau, Edom, or possesses any of his attributes. Just like when we see a creature who has a flattened, scaly tail, who, when we see, who cuts down trees with his teeth, has thick brownish fur, prodigiously builds dams, has aquatic habits, and is warm-blooded, we can identify it as a beaver. Elohim have assigned these roles and characteristics to the beaver, and they are permanent marks of its identification. In like manner, the script of Elohim reveals certain roles and characteristics surrounding Esau Edom by which we can identify this people. From the foregoing chapter, we have one good clue as to who may occupy the character of Esau Edom, that being the Jewish people. The following material will help to verify this. If we know that one of Elohim's actors, such as Esau Edom, is to perform a certain act or possess certain characteristic, then when we see someone doing the act or expressing the characteristic, we have identified the actor on stage or in the world. No student of history or modern affairs can appreciate the significance of world events without the knowledge of who is Esau Edom and their connection to Jewry. All right, let me make this bigger so I can see better. I don't know. Let me see. Okay. The characteristics of Esau. As with any script, the Bible reveals certain traits, attributes, and characteristics of various actors or characters it talks about. We thus find in the Bible some attributes and characteristics of Esau Edom, which will help identify who this actor was in history and perhaps in the world today. There is much evidence showing that the seed of Esau may safely be identified with modern Jewry. The first revealing attributes associated with Esau Edom in scripture is that of a color association with his name. Esau Edom is symbolically associated with the color red. Esau was actually born with this attribute. He is described in the account of his birth. And the first came out red all over like a hairy garment. And they called his name Esau. Here we find that Esau has a physical attributes of being red and hairy, which is contrasted with Jacob's appearance, who was a plain man. See, when you look at Jacob's appearance, it never say it just said he was a plain man. And so that's been a lot of controversy over that, but I mean, I have some people that really dug down into that. I never have, because it said he was a plain man. He liked to dwell in tents. Okay, so that's Genesis 25 and 27. The red color of Esau was to be a sign that he would later sell his birthright to Jacob for some red pottage. And Esau said to Jacob, feed me, I pray thee, that same red pottage, for I am faint. Therefore was his name called Edom, right? Okay. The word Edom actually means red, just as the name Esau signifies red. This character thus represents the color red. When we look at the meaning and symbology associated with the color red in both scripture and secular history, we have a better understanding of the nature and identity of Esau Edom and who he is to be identified with. Here are some of the illustrations. Red is representation of blood and bloodshed. 2 Kings 3 and 22, Isaiah 1 and 15. Scarlet or red is symbolic of sin in general. Isaiah 1 and 8. Let's go ahead and highlight these for the peoples. For the peoples. All right. All right. Scarlet is, okay, so we did that one. Ah, boy. The red horse of the book of Revelation signifies war and the ability to cause wars. Revelation 6 and 4. Esau was to be warlike and live by the sword. We're going to look at that today. All right. The anti-Christian and satanic system which ruled Rome was identified as a red dragon. Jews are the most anti-Christian people on the face of the earth. And when he says how he put that, we gotta look at that. It's not like against even though they don't Christianity, because they invented it anyway. But you have to look at it like they are anti-Mashiach or anti-Christ, meaning they hate the Mashiach. And we looked at last week that Esau departed from Torah. He walked away from Torah. And when we get to these Pharisees, because we already got the Sadducees up here, it's in a class setting, because you already know that these people were rich aristocrats that did not care. They because they have a form of godliness, right? Like most people do today. You have a form of godliness, but they deny the power thereof. So even though Paul and them, people don't understand, when Paul was under Gamaliel, they had to memorize the first 5 books of Moses to graduate out of this priest class. So just think you had to recite the first 5 books of Moses. That means you really know it, right? That means you know the ins and outs of it. Even if you don't know what some of these words like we break down means, but you still can recite it. How many people can do that? So they knew the Torah. They were just going by their own type of salvation, which put people under the law. And that's what people don't understand. Because they keep saying, well, hey, you under the law. No, I'm not under the law, because I know who the Mashiach is. And I'm following his commandments, the 10 that he gave. But when Paul keeps talking about under the law, he's talking about under the rule of the Pharisees and Sadducees. But see, if you don't know the players, like this guy said, then this is a way that you get tricked. The great beast of Mystery Babylon, which was to spread abominations and death to the whole earth, is scarlet red or red in color. And the woman on the beast controlling it is dressed in scarlet. Revelation 17, 3 through 4. Jewish people are the majority promoters of the Babylonian religion called Judaism. The banking industry, which is part of the red Babylon's economic control over Christendom, is led by Jewish banking family of the Rothschilds. Now, a lot of us have read stuff about these people, right? But still, we can't never put this whole thing together, which means red shield. So that's that little star that you see that's on the flag over there, because David had no star. See, that's the Rothschild red shield that was invented in an alleyway when the father said, we're going to take over the world. He already had plans to do this. The red flag symbolizes revolutionary socialism. The socialist movement from its inception up to the present day has been largely dominated by Jewish influence. In the Jewish Kabbalah, red signifies bloodshed and also justice for the Jews. So here's another thing, the Jewish Kabbalah, and we see that a lot too. And then we'll see people talking about, I got to open my chakras. And then they have this tree that's here, which is supposed to be the tree of life. That's what they call it. See, but it's really devil worship. See, because you start meditating, and I mean, when I be telling y'all to meditate, I'm talking about, I think I sent everybody videos of that series I like to listen to, where they actually act out the Bible, and you sit there and you listen to that. That's the meditation I'm talking about. But they got people looking at video, looking at candles and saying and going to these places doing yoga, which ain't yoga. I don't care what nobody says. That's a form of Hasatan. And then, they trying to open up themselves and, and what you're really doing is open up yourself to other spirits. Let's keep going. And Jewish author and historian Arthur Koestler, again, if you don't have this book, you need to get this book, even though it's going to be revised 3 or 4 times. It's another one I was looking for too. But I think somebody said they put it back on the market because they had snatched it down. Henry Ford wrote a book about these people, and they took that off the market. That was back in the 20s when he started building these cars, right? So, so that the Jewish Khazars, from which many Jews are derived, were commonly known as the Red Jews. All right, and these are just some of the things you can look for if you want to. Some of the other books you can add to your reading. But again, like I told you with this Jewish encyclopedia, I've been trying to find it and I cannot find it. I'm going to keep trying until I get it. The color of Jewish communism is red and indicated by such terms as red nation, red star, red square, etc. See, that's what the other thing people don't understand. When America and Russia and all this that was all their idea. They all came up with this. So you got cousins that's running everything, but part of their agenda is they have another agenda. So they have you thinking that okay, these people are the enemy and blah, blah, blah. And then your sons go over here and die for war. But guess what? It's still all Esau and Edom. So whatever, but again, we still got to go back and remember that the creator is behind all of this. These are all events that have to happen. Like all the things happened in the First World War, all the things happened in the Second World War, all these other things that's going on. It's all illustrated already because certain things have to happen. Yah has to pull down certain nations, put other nations in power. He has to make sure that these people stay fully in power, right? Because why? Because it's going to end up deceiving some people that don't want to come to this thing. They're going to be caught in the matrix of these people that never want. And if you really don't want to escape, and like he said, seek me with all your everything you got, then I'm going to reveal this type of stuff. I'm going to bring you out of this matrix. But if you just want to stay in the matrix, then go ahead and stay in the matrix. And that's what you got to understand about this Elohim that we serve. So all this communism was planned and financed by the Jews, and the revolutionary leaders nearly all belong to the Jewish race. See how they be having you thinking all kind of stuff, and it's all them. Red in the West has become a universal sign for warning of danger. Red Edom communism has proved to be a danger to the Christian West, which I don't even know why he can make this statement. Because guess what? They the ones that came up with the Christian religion, and they're the ones that's running the Christian West. So either way you go, because if you're a Christian, you're not keeping no commandments. You ain't keeping no feast days. You ain't changing your lifestyle. You living like you want. You just go to church on Sunday and maybe do a couple other things. The color red as predominantly associated. Isaiah
46 and 10.
What about
it?
Oh, go ahead and read it.
No.
Okay, well, is associated with the Jews. Red is always representative of something bad or negative, such as bloodshed, sins, the Babylonian system, war, communism, etc. Esau, Edom and his descendants are possessors of these characteristics. Now, my wife just pointed something out to me. which basically is just the bottom line when it comes to Yahuah, right? Isaiah 46 and 10, that Yahuah declares the end from the beginning and from ancient times, the things that are not yet done, saying, my counsel shall stand and I will do my pleasure, which is very important to understand because his counsel is going to stand. That's why we got to try to find out what his counsel is so that we in a good place, right? And he going to do what he wants. So one of the brothers in the class was saying, well, man, how come he let you this one do this and do that? Because that's what his pleasure is, and he's going to show mercy to who he wants. He's going to let whoever do whether if he wants them to, they do something, and he does. And, I mean, he deals with them the way that he deals with them, not the way that we think that he should deal with them. We ain't got nothing to do with that because he going to do what he want to do. He's the creator of all things. And even if it doesn't seem right to us, it doesn't matter. You see what I'm saying? It doesn't matter. It's right to him. Now, Esau hated by Elohim. Perhaps the most unique and unusual attribute possessed by Esau Edom is his adverse relationship with Elohim. The script reveals that Elohim never had any love for Esau, and as he did with Jacob, and in fact, Elohim hates Esau. People, well, how could that be? God is love. Okay. Now, this is what he says. I have loved you, Israel, says Yahuah. Yet you say, how hast thou loved us? Was not Esau Jacob's brother, says Yahuah? Yet I love Jacob. See? I have hated Esau and laid his mountains and his heritage to waste for the dragons of the wilderness. That Elohim's hatred and anger toward Esau, Edom, is not a one-time event. It's conveyed in the fact that Edom was, and here's some other sources the brother gives, or this guy gives, because I don't know if he believes or not. People against whom Yahuah has an indignation forever. And you can go to Malachi and see that. Oh boy, it's really all, it's a few places. This is no mistranslation, as the same concept is also conveyed in the New Testament. As it is written, Jacob have I loved, but Esau have I hated. This hatred by Elohim towards Esau is an attribute that the human heart cannot accept or embrace, and therefore many will try to explain it away. Thus, scores of theologians have avoided the truth of Scripture or have whitewashed it into something more appealing to the human nature. And that's how we are as humans, because it's just, well, it just seems so cruel. Or, why are you talking? You shouldn't talk to people that way. You should try to help them nicely and kindly. It's time out for that. Because the scripture said that the Mashiach was what? An austere man. That means he was just straight to the point, tell you what it is, and it's all. But see, they painted the Mashiach as some nice, cuddly guy, that would never, it's just ridiculous. They really have turned our understanding of Yahuah, upside down. This hatred by Elohim toward Esau is attributed to him. Okay, what's it? The scores of, okay, let's go on. Elohim not only hates Esau as it is against these people, but refers to them as a people of my curse. Thus, this curse is not just on Esau, but also his seed and his brethren. But I have made Esau bare, I have uncovered his secret places, and he shall not be able to hide himself. His seed is spoiled, and his brethren and his neighbors, and he is no more. Among Esau's brethren were the Amalekites, who are another one of our great enemies that hate us all through history. These people have been trying to do stuff, which were descended from one of Esau's grandsons. See, it was these Edomite kinsmen whom Elohim had swore war against from generation to generation. And you don't think it's still going on right now? Elohim's hatred of Edom is not a temporary thing, but it's perpetual, forever. The doctrine that Elohim loves everybody does not stand up in the light of what the Bible has to say regarding Elohim's merciless position toward the race of people called Edom. Although the churches have tried to alter Elohim's true nature, we find that throughout the Bible, Elohim's position toward Esau, Edom does not change. And so here it is down here, Jeremiah 49:10. The Elohim of the Bible says, I will have mercy on whom I will have mercy, and I will have compassion on whom I will have compassion. No regard is given to what man thinks on the matter. So it don't matter what you think, or how you feel, or he's not fair. And he's Elohim. See, he does what he wants to do. Everything, your breath comes from him, your thoughts should be about him. You go outside, all the earth belongs to him. So if he wants to do it that way, who cares? There ain't nothing you can do about it. Ain't but two things you could do, either serve him or walk away from him. And walking away would be a terrible mistake. Therefore, thus says Yahuah Elohim, surely in the fire of my jealousy have I spoken against the residue of the heathen and against all Idumea. Shall I not in that day, says Yahuah, even destroy the wise men out of Edom and the understanding out of Mount Seir of Esau? Thus says Yahuah Elohim, behold, O Mount Seir, I am against you, and I will stretch out my hand against you. There is not one favorable or positive statement in the Bible relating to Esau and Edom, but how does this adverse relationship which Elohim has toward Esau, Edom, help us to identify who this character of the world is today? To help us answer this, we have to put ourselves into the role which Esau has been assigned in Elohim's script. If Elohim hated you and your ancestors, how would you relate and what would you do? By natural reaction, you would be against Elohim and his people. We see that every day, because here it is. You don't know, but our people don't know who they are. They believe that these people are who they are. They believe that, oh man, boy, this thing is just, it's so crazy. Sometimes you have to take yourself out of this mindset. Because if you don't, this stuff will drive you crazy, especially when you go down and you look at what's happening. And the people that is getting beat down, because I mean, remember, it goes back to the birthright. They know that you Elohim's people, and they hate you. And then even for those that's joining themselves to Israel, trying to keep the commandments, you hate it too. If Elohim hated you and your ancestors, how would you relate and what would you do? By natural reaction, you would be against Elohim and his people and try to prevent them from finding out you are Esau, the one Elohim is against, knowing that if Elohim is against something, so will his father would be. See, so that means you can't go to the church no more. And your pastor start talking about, well, these are the chosen people. You're supposed to say, look, man, stop lying. Instead of just being all quiet, not saying nothing. Because we're supposed to be bold, right? We can't be cowards and serve Yahuah, right? We're supposed to be bold with this thing. You're supposed to stand up and say, look, man, stop lying. And then start asking them questions. But how many of us gonna do that? Because we scared of our family, we scared of our friends. You don't want to look a certain way, and you love the church more than you love Elohim, evidently. See, I got thrown out of the places I was because I was asking them questions. I got tired of the lies. And this is why we got to stop worrying about how people feel about stuff and start showing them the truth. Who is that tries to conceal their identity as Edom? The one hated by Elohim by claiming to be Israel. The one loved by Elohim, only one group of people reacts as though Elohim has a hatred for them. That is the Jews. Now, and do you suppose that Jews from organizations such as the Anti-Defamation League, y'all know who that is? These are the ones that got you, if you say anything about a Jewish person, the next thing you know, you're being an anti-Semitic, right? And they will do stuff to you about that. You see what happened to what's Mel Gibson? He started talking crazy about the people that really gave him his money, from the people that put him into movies, because they own all of that. And not only all, who knows what secret rituals he did. What did they do? They destroyed him. And this is what they do. So now they even got us running around saying, well, that's anti-Semitic. These people ain't even Semitic. But the people that's Semitic, you call them all kind of niggas and everything else, right? You see what I'm saying? How crazy? That's no problem, because you don't understand what's going on. And even us, we call ourselves nigga. Hey, what's up, nigga? What's up? It's crazy. Now, would not Esau want to do this? Why is it that it is predominantly Jews who promote the anti-hate laws? See? Right? I was talking to people at work. They said, well, I'm free. I'm American. I'm like, how are you an American, man? You right now, if you leave work, you can get killed. I said, but the Chinese, what do? They went to Congress. They got the bill passed in 1 month. You can't even look at one of them crazy without going to jail. But anybody can do anything to you. Why? Because of these people right here that hate you, that run everything. See, this is what we got to understand, right? The anti-hate laws and other hate crime legislation. But you ain't got no hate crime legislation. If you were Esau Edom, you would not to do the same as Edom would also want to infiltrate churches. I'm just saying, that's what he do. And seminars to get Elohim's people to believe that there is no God of hate and only a God of love and mercy. See, that's what's wrong with people right now. Well, no, that doesn't sound, I can't join that, whatever your organization. It's not an organization, man. It's your culture. Well, it just seems too hard. Y'all talk to people too rough. I mean, come on, man. It's the truth. I mean, everybody wants you to be lovey, kissy, kissy. But our Elohim ain't lovey, kissy, kissy. See, our Elohim is about truth. And so the truth hurts. I mean, that's what it really is. People don't want to understand. They don't want to hear the truth. Now, let's do this here. We're going to stop right here. Let me stop this like this. Let me go back here. Let's see. Trying to get this so we can watch this video, y'all. Where is it, boy? Okay. Can y'all see what I'm doing right now, Nay and Kim?
Yeah.
Okay, so you can see the video, right?
Yes.
Okay. Hold on a minute. Let me blow it up. Now, some of us saw this already, but I got to put it up here for the class. So just let's go through this again for those that have seen it. But I got to have this because this is still for the channel, right? Because a lot of people have not seen this, but this brother does a real good job with this. And so once we hit this, we're going to look at some other stuff and then we're going to be done. All right.
Shalom and welcome to another edition here at the Genesis 49ers page, where we say no to vague descriptions and we give you thorough breakdowns. Today's topic is Edom, a red people of antiquity. Okay, so we're going to give you sources showing you the red people throughout antiquity, because I know if you're watching my video, more than likely you have seen other breakdowns of Esau, and usually what you get is the basic: Esau is red, he's hairy, here's these scriptures. But today I'm going to present to you historical clarity throughout different sources to paint a more vivid picture, if you will, so the laity and the listener and the viewer can get a clearer understanding of who Esau is, so we won't have to just play the guessing game or the picking game. So before I start, I just want to say a lot of the vague descriptions that a lot of camps and a lot of the camp I was part of gave a lot of leeway to these other thoughts and ideas, such as Esau being the Arabs and all this other madness. It gave a lot of leeway for that. So here at Genesis 49ers, we want to present the people something more verifiable and more conducive as far as scholarship goes. So with that being stated and that out of the way, let's get started.
The truth is that Hollywood's elite actors can get ripped while adding 12, 15, even 20.
Get out of here.
First slide, Latin. Therefore Don Isaac Abarbanel properly argued on the verse, her nobles and no kingdoms is there, because the head of Rome has not the title of king, and that court are many nobles, the cardinals. Josephus in his Antiquities relates that when Joseph and his brethren, accompanied by a numerous Egyptian army, carried his father for intimate, the dukes of Esau came out to attack them. They fought them and conquered and took Sepho, the son of Eliphaz, the grandson of Esau, prisoner, who after being sometime kept in Egypt fled with his people to Africa, where the king of Carthage honorably received him and made him general of his army against the Chittim, which is Italy, over whom he attained some signal victories, but subsequently passing over the Italians, he turned his arms against the Carthaginians and conquered the children of Jubal, who resided in Pisa. Seeing his prosperous success and the valor of his arms, they raised him to be king and called him Zepho Janus, which is the same as Saturn, the planet that they then worshipped, so that he became the first king of Italy. His descendants subsequently built cities until the empire devolved on Duke Madel, mentioned in Genesis. It was who built Rome. Previous to Romulus, surrounded it with walls. These are the words of the prince of historians, Josephus, from which it is seen the descendants of Esau, who was Edom, reigned in Chittim, which is in Italy. And this Josephus.
Okay, now, so if I don't know if how many of y'all remember from school, but we know Romulus and Remus was two people that was raised by wolves. And one brother killed the other brother, right? And he ended up building the walls and building up Rome. But he's letting you know before that happened that these Esau, his descendants was already there.
This is the Yasipon, okay, not the Flavius Josephus, but the Yasipon. From the fame of this king, many Edomites subsequently came to people Italy. By then was Rome founded, not as Sallust says by the Trojans nor the people of Evander and Virgil, as Virgil asserts, and it's sufficient that Isidore and his etymologies could not resolve the point to give credit to such an ancient authors as have been mentioned. This is further confirmed, for according to the account of some historians, Janus came from the east to Italy about 1500 years before the Christian era, which comes exactly to the 6th year after the burial of Joseph and the engagement with Joseph. And as Don Isaac Arbernon observes, Latinus, with whom they say the Latin language originated, was one of the dukes of Esau, called in Genesis Duke Lotan, which makes sense because back then you didn't have, the Hebrew language didn't have O's in it, you know what I'm saying? So it would be Latan. So this is what we get from the historical data. And the source is the Prophets and Hagiography by Manasseh ben Israel, page 218. To the right, we have notes. Zepho and Lotan, or Latinus, are both descendants of Esau. Now, remember, Janus is said to come from a country in the east. Zepho, according to the record of the Yasipon, which the book of Jasher took this information from an already recorded document that predated that, which is called the Yasipon. They're both both historical statements claim that these Edomites left and came into this land and conquered and began to rule. That's how Esau came into Europe, and I covered this in my other video, Who Was Esau, on my page. Go check it out. Next, remember that as we go to the next slide. Next slide. From the first book of Dionysius of Halicarnassus about the history of the Romans. Chapter 28, I'll start at verse 1. This city, mistress of the whole earth and sea, which the Romans now inhabit, is said to have had its earliest occupants, the barbarian Sicels, where you get Sicilian from, a native race. As to the condition of the place before their time, whether it was occupied by others or inhabited, none can certainly say. Now, the Sicels, according to the secular history, it was already inhabited before anybody known as Romans had came to this land. And that's what we tell you, that Japheth's seed ruled Italy before Esau came and interfered. It's even in their history that the people that are called Romans don't belong to the European plateaus, the European lands. Okay? But sometime later, the Aborigines gained possession of it, having taken it from the occupants after a long war. And that's what we read about Zepho warring with Kittim, giving some validity to that story. But watch this. These people had previously lived on the mountains in unwalled villages and scattered groups. They say that after them, the Pelagians and some of the Greeks conquered that region. At first, they were called Aborigines, but under Latinus, their king, who reigned at the time of the Trojan War, they began to be called Latins. And it's safe to assert that Latan, the Duke of Edom, or the Duke of Hor, depending on how you read the scripture, in Genesis 36, is that Latinus, or Latinus is of that line. You get the word Latin from Esau, Esau's line, his pedigree. 16 generations later, Romulus founded the city and expanded and raised its affairs to the greatest prosperity. See, Romulus, he expanded the city, but it was already found by Latinus, okay, according to the history. And then Dionysius continues in his narrative in these very words, Dionysius and Helicanus. There are some who affirm that the Aborigines from whom the Romans are originally descended were natives of Italy, a stock which came into being spontaneously. I call Italy all that the peninsula, which is bounded by the Ionian Gulf, which Ionian means Yuan, and the Tyrrhenian Sea, and thirdly, by the region where the Latins live. The Aborigines were called founders of families or ancestors, but others claim they were called vagabonds, coming together out of many places. Still others have a story of the effect that they were foreigners who came there from Libya. Where did the story Zepho, where did they say Zepho came from according to the Yassapon? He came from Africa. He fled Egypt, and he went from Africa, and then he went up and attacked Chittim, which he went to where Carthage is, which is in North Africa around Libya, Tripoli and all those places. So this is lining up very accurately with the history that the historian Yassapon supplied. But some of the Roman historians say they were Greeks, part of those ones who dwelt in Achaia, and they migrated to there many generations before the Trojan War. So you can see that this history is coinciding and basically collaborating with the history we just read from the Yassapon. All right? Next slide. This is why it's important to go through sources, archaeology, and study this material so we can bring these scriptures to life, so we can bring what's going on in the scriptures to life, instead of just going out there and making statements. Prove it. Next slide. Italy. I presented this in, I think, the Who is Esau video. I'm bringing it here again to just bring the point out even more. So it says, Idumeans, on finding that his life was in danger, sailed for Italy, where he built soon after his arrival the city of Petilia near Seliatum, or according to some, Seliatum itself. Idumeans, which is, according to, you can see the name Esau, Edom in there. However, afterwards returned, and as well as married and died in his own country, where a magnificent tomb were erected to them. So you see Esau having relationships with Italy again, just like the Yassapon said, okay? And King Latinus, which we could easily see a connection linguistically with the Duke Latin or Lotan, right? Which is where the Latin language comes from. It says, where a magnificent tomb was erected to them, at which they received divine honors. The Cretans sacrificed to them as heroes, and then there was invoking them as their protectors. This tomb was still visible at the time of Diodorus and Gnosis, with the inscription, "Here lies Marion," by the side of Idumeans, which is of Edom. All right?
Yeah, here we go again.
So let's say you have to read an incredibly long email from your boss that you have to finish before the big meeting.
It was on my other channel.
It says, from that day henceforth, Gondalas and his armies of the kings of Africa used to ravage the land of Kittim for spoil and plunder. Sepho always accompanied them. When this Sepho, the son of Eliphaz, traveled to Africa, to Kittim, the inhabitants received him with great honor and presented him with many gifts, that he became very rich, and the troops of Africa spread themselves all over the land of Kittim. And they, having assembled, ascended the mountain of Caporizo. Chronicles Jeremiah, so it's saying the same thing. Another Jewish historian, Chronicles Jeremiah in the Middle Ages, records this. Okay? And we read earlier in the Roman history that foreigners came and took down ancient Italy and became the inhabitants after that. Which you have King Latinus, which that's where the Latin language comes from. Which King Latinus is the Duke Lotan. When you read Genesis 36, of the posterity of Esau. You can't make this stuff up. So next slide. Now this is a Arabic source right here, Islamic source. We can go into what they say about it. In contrast to the Persians, the Arabs called themselves black, I mean, the Arabs call themselves black or in general dark colored. Because some people say, oh, the Arabs are the white man. First of all, Arabs is a mixture of things. Okay, let's put that out there. But the original people in those Arabic lands, like Saudi Arabia, and different areas of the Middle East, were of Ishmael. Okay, they even teach that themselves, but that's for another topic. And they were dark colored. Okay. The Persians are usually described as red, i.e. light skin, because what happened to the Persians? They got conquered by the Greeks, and they mixed with their seed. Amar or Hamra, that's what they use for light skin or red, people that look red, like white people, because the blood shows forth to their skin. It says the Banu el-Arar were called in Kufa al-Amira. Consequently, this color designation applies to the Mawali, a man of the term Allah, reddish as if he were Mawala. Red is here used of a lighter color in general. The same color attributes is used on other non-Arab races. In Spain, the Arabs called the indigenous Christians, which I revealed in my video, who was Esau. We called the Christians Edomites, and we called them red. Red and white, their blood showed forth to their skin. This is the same thing the Arabs called them. We called them. It says red here is used lighter color in general. The same color attributes used also other non-Arab races. In Spain, the Arabs called the indigenous Christians Banu el-Hamra or al-Hamra. It need not be specially emphasized that Mudar al-Hamra does not belong here, but is derived from a particular legendary reason. A description of a non-Arab nation as light-skinned is also al-Dama al-Askad. The Franks were also sometimes called Shukar. Okay? It's going to explain why. And this group belongs to the Banu Asfar, a description of the Greeks which is found in a poem ascribed to the pre-Islamic Ad B. Zaid. The literature on this attribute is collected by Steinschneider. One could add the excursus and Ibn Khalikan, number 799. On this name, which is also found in Al-Bukhari, no number 7 Asfar, as in fact used in contrast to Aswad. Genealogists who were not satisfied with the correct meaning of the words as the color description saw it as far, the name of the grandchild of Esau, Al-Asfar, father of Rumil, the ancestor of Rum, which is Rome. This is no other than Sepho in Genesis. This is who they taught us with, Sepho, because they believe he is the progenitor of the Edomite Romans. And what do they call them? Red. They call them Asfar, describing the Greeks, describing these Edomites, signifying them as red people. All right, so next slide. Oh, I got Hamra means red Greeks, Asfar, Romans and Greeks, linking them with Esau. And that's the source is Muslim Studies, page 268 by Goes Higher. I go side here. Next slide. The Romans are descended from El-Rum, son of Esau, son of Isaac, son of Ibrahim, the friend of God, and they are named after their ancestors. It is related that Esau had 30 sons, of whom El-Rum was one. But these Romans have been joined by the tribes that did not belong to them, namely Tanuk, Nid, and Sulim, and Gassan. These tribes were in Syria, and when the Muslims drove them out, they entered into the land of Romans and mingled and multiplied, and then when they were reckoned as Romans by descent, but they are not Romans, and the Roman genealogists know the fact. A History of Arabs in Sudan by Sir Harold Alfred, page 199. So this is what they teach. They teach the Edomites are the progenitors of Rome within the Arabic literature. Okay? So you're trying to say the Arabs of Esau, but they teach who Esau is. They know who Esau is throughout their ancestors knew who Esau was. But you're not going to regard that because you want to go off of your interpretation and your teacher's interpretation, and you want to have an interpretation fight. I'm not about interpretation fighting. I'm about getting down to the bottom of it and learning the truth. Next slide. Again, Roman. The king of Pontus, who has been compared to the Greek Hannibal, had, it is true, the vast projects and ungovernable will of the chief and the mercenaries. But let's get to the point. When he confronts the Roman, it says the fierce face of the Roman at the bottom. It says the fierce face of the Roman His red hair, his green eyes, and his red complexion spotted with white particularly amused the besieged. They cried to him. So how does this Roman look? This Roman is described as red complexion with white, because he's talking about his skin being pale and he can see the blood coming through his skin, making him look or appear red. So the Romans were identified as red people. Okay, we're going to get into that. And that source is History of the Roman Republic by Jules Michelet, page 294, or Michelet. Next slide. Rufus. Rufus was a common name amongst the Romans. Rufus is Latin for red. For example, Pompeius Rufus, Sulpius Rufus, and Titius Rufus. Okay? Renowned people. And I believe that's Justinian right there. And look at him. He's red. The blood is showing forth through his skin. He's depicted red, how his skin works, how his body works. This is why they are called the nation of Edom. It's not hard. And we know about black people calling other black people red, but they understood that. Like if we go to West Africa, they'll call a black person Coco. But that red they're talking about is not talking about Edomites red. They're not saying they look like Caucasians or look like this. Because if I look that color up, it's gonna be like my skin tone, very, very dark brownish. Anyway, next slide. Okay, Ionian, Yahuah, keep that in mind. The first source is Erythea, means the red or blushing one. I want you to have that definition in your mind. Ethre, one of the 12 cities of the Ionian League, or the Yahuah League, or the Joanian League, right? Which this is Japheth's children, but one of the 12 cities of his league was Ethre, called Red. Okay, on the coast opposite the island Chios, allegedly founded by a party from Crete and later by the Ionians under Sinopsis and Codrus, and the city was prosperous from the start, all in turn with the rest of Ionia under Lydia and then Persia. Ethre was later a member of the Delian League. An important inscription, probably late 450 BC, shows Athens brazenly regulating her affairs to suit Athenian interests. Apparently, after revolt, her later assessment of 7 talents was among the highest in Ionia, and the fourth country, Ethre, was in the hectomomid, Persian satrapal sphere of influence. Honors to Masus and Andreus, it made a treaty with Hermias. Ethre enjoyed free and immune status under Alexander the Great and the Seleucids. I wonder why. Because he looked at these Ethres, which is named after the Edomites. Ethre just means red. What does Edom mean? Red. When Alexander comes into power, he grants these people amnesty. Why? Because they're the same people. He knows the history. Okay, and that comes from the works of Sir Thomas Brown, page 177. Next quote here. The Greeks righted see Erythraeum of the king called Ethrais, or Ethreus. They had a king called Ethreus. Who's this? Esau. This is a descendant of Esau. Ethreus just means red. And we read earlier that he had relationships with Kittim, which is Greece, and then Italy. Or Kittim could be Greece or Italy. Let's put it like that. Because
now you remember on the other video we watched last week, what did we see? When they came out of the Caucasus Mountains, right? The Khazarians, remember, the Romans, they didn't even bother them. They let them do what they wanted to do. Why? Because this is why. Because they are the same people. The only opposition they had at that time was from the Nabateans or from the Arabs. We just watched another video from another source showing us that last week.
Ethros and the Greek signified red. Hence it is that being dominated of this Ethrus, the son of Persis, and Andromeda, yet it took the name of the Red Sea, as Quinn Curtius conjectures. The works of Sir Walter Raleigh, page 83. So you have this tribe within the Ionian kingdom, okay, which was of Japhet, called Ethre, or King Ethreus, the Edomites, the red people. Edom. Easy, man. This is easy. If you still want to believe that Esau is somebody else after watching this, so you have an agenda, because the understanding and the knowledge and the records are here. All right, let's go back to the Romans. Mars. Mars has old origins. Some suggest he was an agricultural god of Sabine people, as a god who watched over their food supply. Mars was seen as the primary protector of their society. Mars was also known as the father of Romulus and Remus, the twin brothers who, according to some legends, founded the city of Rome. He was referred to as Father Mars, and Romans believed themselves to be descendants of Mars. Why is this important? Because they named Mars, they named the planet after this Roman god Mars for a reason. Because they looked at that red star in the sky and they said that represented blood and war. And that's the same thing the god Mars represented. And this is also why they wore red shields and red clothes and stuff of that nature. But it also reflects on them because they are a red people. Okay? I'm going to read on. As Rome explained, that's why we read earlier, Rufus was a common name amongst the Romans. Like, in medieval times, you had people call themselves Brown or Swart or Stewart. Why? Because their family, Stewart means dark skin. Their family would be dark skin. Or Brown, their family were brown. That's why they had that surname off the pigmentation in their body. Same thing with these Edomites. They had surnames like Rufus. You even have a guy named Rufus in the New Testament. Okay? Because they named their slaves, the name of their slaves would get their names. Like, that's why Josephus, his name is Flavius Josephus. Because he worked under the Roman Flavius, okay? He was under his control. He was a servant of Rome. So, as you can see, all this ties together. They were known as the Etheus under the Ionian Kingdom, which is the Edom. Okay, that's where you get the Red Sea from. And they were known as red people in Rome. It's that simple. It was known as red by the Arabs. Okay? The only people that don't know this is people that's trying to push an agenda on YouTube instead of dealing with the records that we can examine. Okay? Rome expanded from a city into an empire through military power. Mars evolved into the god who protected the nation by protecting his army. And that way he became the god of war. When the Roman armies conquered people and lands across Europe and the Mediterranean, the soldiers and colonists who followed them built temples to Mars to thank him for their success. They built most of their temples outside of cities where Mars could watch over the land. They named the planet after this god because of its red color. Red was associated with war and bloodshed. The source is Greek and Roman mythology by Kathleen N. Daly, page 89. As you can see that, and we also going to get into how they painted their face after Jupiter, because Jupiter is the father of Mars, and they will paint their face red. Now, they believe they descended from these people, not only their gods, like we brought out in the last video, Euhemerism, when they deified their ancestors, okay? So they know they come from someone known of being red, which is what? Edom. It's not hard, man. Just don't make it hard. All right, the last.
Looking for a lifeline in these tough times? Well, forget about stocks, real estate, cryptocurrency.
The last few, let's get to it. Let's get to it. Yeah, let's do that right there. Boom. A little more information about the image of Jupiter and the quadriga which Volca made for the Capitoline Temple can be gleaned from several other sources. The image of the Jupiter had a special connection with the Roman military victories. It was an ancient custom in Rome that victorious military commanders might be officially awarded a triumph, the essence of which was a religious procession from the gates of the city of the Capitoline, where sacrifice was offered to Jupiter. During this procession, the victorious commander, dressed in the garb and attributes of Jupiter himself. What's the attributes of Jupiter? We're about to see. Was conveyed in a quadriga to the temple of Jupiter, accompanied by his army, his captives, and the spoils of his victory. And describing the similarity between the trumpeter, and Jupiter, which even involved a custom mentioned by Pliny of painting the commander's face red, because they believed that was an attribute of Jupiter. They believed that he was red. Why? Because they believe they come from a red deity. Because that goes back to Esau, Edom. Livy and Servius preserved some hints of what the attributes of Vulcan's image of Jupiter were. Servius' commentary on Virgil Eclogue X 27, 10 and 27, in course of the commenting on the word minimum, vermilion red, Servius says the color red associated with Jupiter, which even those who celebrate trumpet, who have all as insignias of Jupiter, the scepter, the palm branch, the tunic, which Juvenal said in the tunic of Jupiter, even the color, the face with red. Now, they believe they descended from these deities. They believe themselves, they are red. They are the red people. That's why they call themselves Rufus. That's why that was a common name amongst the Romans. They come from Esau. Case closed. Oh, they didn't call, yes, white people call red. They associate themselves with vermilion and red. Livy, X, 10, 7, and 9. Parts of speech delivered 300 BC by the consul Publius Decius Mus in support of admitting the plebs into the traditionally patrician priesthood, to whom the gods of men is possible to strive indignation. If those men whom you have honored with the curule chair, the toga practacia, the palm branch toga and painted, and let's cut off there, but it should say painted red. The origin of the custom is obscure. Most ancient sculptures, the flesh part of a male figure was normally painted reddish brown, while the flesh of a woman was painted white, and the redness of an image of Jupiter may simply be a reflection of this custom. Pliny, however, states the face of the image was continually repainted in red on holidays, which suggests that red color has some religious significance. Greek and Roman mythology by Kaplan and Daly, page 89. So we can see this connection. They believed that God was red. They called themselves red. You have the Ethreus, the King Ethreus, called the Great Red King, right? You had these people. So we know what people that were designated as red people in history. The Arabs called them red. They said they come from Esau, okay? The Jewish writings identify them with Esau. All this information is saying these people are Edomites, except people that have an agenda, okay? This is what the history states. I'm going to go with what the ancients say. I'm not going to go with what people want to make of with their interpretations. Next slide. All right, we're going to, last 3 slides, we're going to get into the Middle Age Jewish writings, which were our people as well. Because you know when you mention Middle Age Jewish, oh, who are these? Like, we were in Europe. Understand that. The Sephardic Jews were Negroid. I did a video called The Negro Jews, the history of the Negro Jews. Go check it out. You have to understand that these people writing this were your people. Anyway, let's get into it. The third example, evidently based on Josephus the Zealous, appears in Sefer Nizam Yashan, compound in southern Germany and northern France by unknown author in the early 14th century. It follows the formula, know what to answer, and presents the most radical formulation of the claim that the Jews are black and ugly, but with a new explanation. The Gentile asks and say, why are most Gentiles white and beautiful and most Jews black and ugly? This lets you know what color the Jews were in the Middle Ages. Right there. They were black. Answer them that it's like a fruit. When it begins to blossom, it is white, but when fully ripe, it becomes black. Like those are the dark species plums. Because when you examine a baby, some babies are born light, then they become black. That's how he's explaining the Jews get their color. While the fruit that is red in the beginning will have white fruit, like apples or peaches. This proves to Israel that it's pure menstrual blood, meaning they don't have any menstrual blood or uncleanness in them, with no red whatever in the beginning. But the Gentiles are not warned against such blood and copulate when they see blood, so there is red in the beginning. Hence the fruit brings forth white, and they are white. So he's showing red, the relationship of redness with white or pale skin. You can see the blood through their skin. And one should also answer, for the Gentiles fornicate in the beds of a woman by day, seeing beautiful faces and pictures, and give birth to children to resemble them, as it is said. And he set the striped rods. Now that's going to something else. But anyway, you can see that he's calling this Gentile red and white. Okay? Because they knew that these people that were trying to be Christians, trying to take our role as the Jews, trying to take over at this time, they were Edomites. Next scripture. Well, next slide. And you can see I got the scripture, Genesis 25:25. And the first came out red all over like a hairy garment, and they called his name Esau. What nation was reputed as being red. We just went all over the Romans. You had the sect of the Grecians. The Ionians, was King Atreus, and then the Athenians. Okay, we can clearly see who fits this. And the polemic writings repeat the same arguments since the authors copy from one another. Sefer Yosef HaMekanah, Joseph the Zealous, written by Joseph Barnathan of Zil in northern France in the middle of the 13th country, contains the following dispute between an apostate Jew and the other's fathers, are Robert and Nathan. I made you contemptible and base before all people. Malachi 2:9 said a certain apostate, Rabbi Nathan, you are uglier than any people on earth, and our people are very handsome. He replied, those big plums that grow along the scene, what blossom they have? He said to him, white. And what color is the apple blossom? He said, red. He answered, that is what we are from, a pure white seed, which is the sperm, and our faces are dark. They become dark when they get older. While you Edomites, a red race, conceived from a menstrual woman, so that you are yellow and red. The blonde hair and the complexion is red because of the blood. We looked at the picture of Justinian. He was depicted as a red, white, palish person. Conceived from a mistress woman, so that you are yellow and red. So, as you can see, we understood who the Edomites were. These people that were going around pretending to be Christians during the 1300s, 1400s, taking our kingdom from the end of the Dark Ages, going into the Renaissance.
I need everybody to
We're
be on mute.
Edomites. Okay, we understood that. Descendants of Rome, descendants of Alexander and the Macedonians, descendants of Esau. Ultimately. We can see that. And that's from the image of the black and Jewish culture, A History of the Others by Abraham Melamed. And I don't think I said this. Let me go back.
People ask
Almost
me
over, y'all. Hold
every
on.
day,
Hold on.
what do I do to look the way that I do? When I
Oh, yeah, it's both the same book. That's page 34, the other's page 27. Last one. Truth. Research. No more lazy scholarship. Stop with your lazy scholarship. It's not working. Okay, it's just creating confusion, like I said before. You just giving room to these other sects that want to come with interpretation and make up their own, or make up something, or push something out there, push another agenda. When we start actually teaching and actually breaking these topics down in this manner, we can cut back on a lot of that friction, if you will. That show that this is not something that anybody can just come do. It show that you have to sit down and take time out and actually go through different sources to create a chronology, or create an analogy between the different sources to prove your point, to paint a vivid picture for the layman that might not know, so he can learn and grasp it, and not just be a parakeet and just go, oh, Esau's red and hairy all over. No, we want to be able to explain it. I want our brothers to be able to bring these sources to the forefront. Hey, the Romans, they had a common name of Rufus, denoting red. Okay, seen from Mars. Jupiter was Mars' father. He was depicted as being a red god. Okay, you got to understand these things, and they claim to descend from him. Okay, this red nation. These are the red people. Right? So, like I said, to recap real quick, the Arabs believe that what? The Romans descend from Esau. The Romans believe they descended from Mars, which is why they named the planet Mars, because it was that red star in the sky. And they believe they descended from, by saying they descend from Mars, they descend from Jupiter, because Jupiter is the father of Mars. And how did they venerate Jupiter? By painting red, by dressing like him, and painting that red on their face, because they believe they come from red beings, okay? Because they are a nation of red people. We read about Edom Idumeans coming to Italy, Zepho, the history of Zepho going there, and we read the Latin history of Latinus, and how Latinus ties with Duke Lotan, or Duke Latin, right? So we can clearly see the ties of Esau, him going into Europe because he's from the Middle East, him invading those areas, King Atreus, so on and so forth. All right, and how they tie with the Romans and the Grecians, and how they tie with the Christians in the Middle Ages, which I brought out, who was Esau, were brought in by, there was Esauians, coming into the Byzantine lineup by war and marriage. Okay, that's how you get the Edomites coming into the Christian paradigm. Before that, it was all black. With that, I'm going to say shalom. I hope that this was very insightful. I hope you took notes. You had your pens and your papers, and you were saving these sources so you can have good material to provide on the behalf that Esau is the Caucasian, the Roman, okay? And we do know who he is. A lot of people want to pretend like they don't know who anybody is nowadays. We can trace people through the historical data that we have. Okay, we're not slaves no more. We can read. Slaves can.
Okay, so now this video right here is the one that you guys might want to write down and look at. The Black Tudor's 3 Untold Stories. This lady, she's British, and she really lays that thing out to kind of show you some stuff that was taken out of American history, right? Because we know if we talk to certain people that's from overseas, they know what's going on. It's here in America where they go ahead and cut everything and filter everything out. Now, let's do this next thing. We're going to do a recap real quick. Okay, you guys can see this? You guys still woke? Okay, you guys can see
Yeah.
this? You see the slide? Can you see the slide?
Yes.
Okay. No, this is Esau the goat. Daniel 8:21, and the rough goat is the king of Grecia, and the great horn that is between his eyes is the first king. Now that's in prophecy. So this is who he's basically talking about. Good old Esau the goat. Right? Let's go to Psalms real quick. And we got, this is from the Brown's Driver's Brig, Old Testament Hebrew English lexicon. If you don't have that, that's another tool, but you gotta make sure, you ask me which one you've been looking at so I can make sure you get the right one, because if you haven't learned the alphabet yet, when you get the wrong Brown Driver's Brig, you're not gonna understand it. And it's from H number 3256, properly chastisement, that is by implication a halter, figurative restraint, bands, or bond. So let's go to Psalms, chapter 2. We almost finished, y'all. Psalms, chapter 2. Oh, boy. Psalms, chapter 2, verse 1 through 2. Why do the heathen rage, right? We can go through Psalms 110 and 5 to find out who the heathen is, and the people imagine a vain thing. The kings of the earth set themselves, and the rulers take counsel against Yahuah and against his anointing, saying, let us break our bands asunder and cast away the cords from us. The cords here would be the word. Cast away the word from us. You got to understand that. He that sitteth in heaven shall laugh. Yahuah shall have them in derision. He's going to mock them. Then shall he speak unto them in his wrath and vex them in his sore displeasure. Yet have I set my king upon my holy hill of Zion. I will declare the decree. All right. And Yahuah hath said unto me, thou art my son, this day have I begotten thee. All right. And cross-reference that, Acts 13 and 33. Ask of me, and I shall give thee the heathen for thine inheritance, and the uttermost parts of the earth for thy possession. Thou shalt break them with a rod of iron, thou shalt dash them in pieces like a potter's vessel. You go to Revelation 12 and 5. Be wise now, therefore, O you kings, be instructed, ye judges of the earth, who is Esau. Serve Yahuah with fear and rejoice with trembling. Kiss the Son. In other words, respect him or join him, lest he be angry, you perish from the way, when his wrath is kindled but a little. Blessed are they that put their trust in him. You can go to Psalms 118 and 10 and cross-reference that. So the thing about it is, what he's trying to say is all these people that are under these people's control, you got to break away from it, because he's gonna smash this place up. And so when he said, let us break out the bonds, that shackles of this word, they don't want to hear this word. They don't want this word to be raw like it is. They want it to be soft and cuddly and just stay in the New Testament. Let's go to Acts chapter 4 now. Esau did all this. This is where we get all this foolishness from Esau. A lot of us was in a lot of that stuff, but we've broken away, and it takes great courage. You can't be scared and serve Yah. I'm sorry. Acts chapter 4, verse 11 through 12. This is a stone which was set at naught of you builders, which has become the head of the corner. Neither is there salvation in any other, for there is none other name under the heaven given among men where man must be saved. So this is why Esau also gave you the name of Jesus, because he got you, and you got Hebrews that they refuse to use the name. Now you call it. That's what blows my mind. Okay, you know that you Israel, right? But you refuse to use the name. But then if I call you, you got a Hebrew name. Come on, man. This is how crazy this is. But this is from Esau and the kings of the earth. He's king. He's king over this whole thing, and his father's Hasatan, right? Now, this is from the book of Jasher. This is what he was pointing, he was mentioning. And like the brother said, you can't be lazy doing this. You got to do some research. You got to cut TV off and other things off and actually do some research. Book of Jasher, chapter 61. And it came to pass at that time, Pharaoh, king of Egypt, commanded all his people to make for him a strong palace in Egypt. And he also commanded the son of Jacob to assist the Egyptians in the building. And the Egyptians made a beautiful and elegant palace for a royal habitation. He dwelt therein, and he renewed his government and reigned securely. And Zebulun, the son of Jacob, died in that year. That is the 72nd year of the going down of the Israelites to Egypt. And Zebulun died 114 years old, and was put into a coffin and given unto the hands of his children. And in the 75th year died his brother Simeon. He was 120 years old at his death, and he was also put into a coffin and given into the hand of his children. Now you got to remember, you can go back further, you'll see where this kind of burial came from. Because we never used to bury ourselves like this. But now this came from, this is how Pharaoh got his name. When you read the book of Jasher, it's going to tell you that Pharaoh got his name from Nimrod. Because what he did was he started charging people to bury you. That's where that comes from. And so it was so ingenious, and they could make so much money off it. Because again, you got to remember, then we just read out of the history, the brother showed you that Esau was in Egypt as well. And again, when it goes back to the red, white, and blue, the different colors of the helmets of the Egyptians, or the Egyptian pharaohs, the emperors, the kings. Right? And Queen Elizabeth will tell you the same thing. She'll tell you that her descendants is from the pharaohs, but then she'll turn around and say that's why she got the stone up under her throne, because she's actually Jacob too. See, but she knows that she comes from that seed because she's Esau. Yeah, you have some people that say that too about Ephraim and Manasseh and how they crossed over and came to the Americas. You hear stuff like that all the time. And Zephyr, but we know that's, well, I ain't gonna dispute that because I've talked to a couple people. Zephyr, the son of Eliphaz, the son, but we know that Israel is scattered all over the place. So we'll say it like that. And like I keep trying to tell these people, this brother got some good history, but at this point in the game, it's hard for you to tell who is who. And then on top of that, right now, Hasatan got all the nations of the earth mixing with each other. See, that's another thing, again, come from Esau, because he's trying to disguise himself. And Zephyr, the son of Eliphaz, the son of Esau, captain of the host to Angias, king of Dinabah, was still daily enticing Angias to prepare for battle to fight with the sons of Jacob in Egypt. And Angias was unwilling to do this thing, for his servant had relayed to him all the might of the sons of Jacob, what they had done unto them in their battle with the children of Esau. And Zephyr was in those days daily enticing Angias to fight with the sons of Jacob in those days. Because this thing with us and Esau, and it's a hater. It goes all the way back to what we read on last week about how he hates his brother forever. We're going to look at that. Zephyr was in those days daily enticing Angias to fight with the sons of Jacob in those days. And after some time, Angias hearkened to the words of Zephyr and consented to him to fight with the sons of Jacob in Egypt. And Angeas got all his people in order, a people numerous as the sand which is upon the seashore. And he formed his resolution to go to Egypt to battle. And amongst the servants of Angeas was a youth 15 years old, Balaam, the son of Beor, was his name. And the youth was very wise and understood the art of witchcraft. And Angeas said unto Balaam, conjure for us, I pray thee, with the witchcraft, that they may know who will prevail in this battle to which we are now proceeding. And Balaam ordered that they should bring him wax, and he ordered there of the likeness of chariots and horsemen, representing the army of Angeas and the army of Egypt. And he put them in the cunningly prepared water that he had for that purpose. And he took in his hand the boughs of myrtle trees, and he exercised his cunning, and he joined them over the water, and there appeared unto him in the water the resembling images of the host of Angeas, falling before the resembling images of the Egyptians and the sons of Jacob. And Balaam told this thing to Angeas, and Angeas despaired and did not arm himself to go down to Egypt to battle, and he remained his. And Balaam told this thing to Angeas, and Angeas despaired and did not arm himself to go down to Egypt to battle, and he remained in the city. And when Zepho, the son of Eliphaz, saw that Angeas despaired of going forth to battle with the Egyptians, Zepho fled from Angeas from Africa, and he went and came into Kittim. The brother just got them putting that together. And all the people of Kittim received him with great honor, and they hired him to fight their battles all the days. And Zepho became exceedingly rich in those days, and the troops of the king of Africa still spread themselves in those days. And the children of Kittim assembled and went to Mount Kuptizia on account of the troops of Angeas, king of Africa, who were advancing upon them. And it was one day that Zepho lost a young heifer, and he went to seek it, and he heard it lowing round about the mountain. And Zepho went, and he saw, and behold, there was a large cave at the bottom of the mountain. And there was a great stone there at the entrance of the cave, and Zepho split the stone and came into the cave, and he looked, and behold, a large animal was devouring the ox. From the middle upward, it resembled a man, and from the middle downward, it resembled an animal. And Zepho rose up against the animal and slew it with his sword. And the inhabitants of Kittim heard of this thing, and they rejoiced exceedingly. And they said, what shall we do unto this man who has slain the animal that devoured our cattle? And they all assembled to consecrate one day in the year to him, and they called the name thereof Zepho after his name, and they brought unto him drink offerings year after year on that day, and they brought unto him gifts. So you got to remember, at this time, when people start talking about the Greek mythology and all this stuff, all that stuff is real, because it points back to the Nephilim and their seed. Because remember, the Nephilim was mixing everything. They was mixing men with animals. They was mixing different type of, this is where you get the Minotaur, half man, half bull. I mean, you get, what's the other one with the arch? Half man, half horse. So all this stuff is like, people look at it like mythology, but it actually was happening. Actually was happening on the earth. And at the revolution of the year, the troops of Africa continued coming to the land of Kittim to plunder as usual. And Zepho, son of Eliphaz, heard their report, and he gave orders concerning them, and he fought with them, and they fled before him, and he delivered the land of Kittim from them. And the children of Kittim saw the value of Zepho, and the children of Kittim resolved, and they made Zepho king over them, and he became king over them. And whilst he reigned, they went to subdue the children of Tubal and all the surrounding islands. And their king Zepho went at their head, and they made war with Tubal and the islands, Gentiles, Genesis chapter 6, and they subdued them. So the isles of the Gentiles. What you got to do is go to Genesis chapter 6, get your blue letter, or Genesis chapter 10, get your blue letter, or if you got it, you can go to what's that one I like to use? The no, not Bible Hub. The other one I like to use, it has all the books and everything, has all the books, has the LXF Septuagint, has the Apocrypha in it. It'll come to me in a minute. But you can go there and look those up. And they subdued them, and when they returned from the battle, they renewed his government for him, and they built for him a large, very large Q Bible. The Q Bible has all that stuff. And then that's where that's one place, if you don't want to buy the Brown's Drivers Briggs, they break it down in the Brown's Drivers Briggs for you, which is a little bit deeper understanding than Bible Hub and the Blue Letter Bible, right? Sometimes you're going to find that it's the same. Sometimes it's going to give you a little bit something different. And they built for him a very large palace for his royal habitation and seat, and they made a large throne for him, and Zepho reigned over the whole land of Kittim and over the land of Italia 50 years. So they're showing you other places where this cat was at. And now Genesis 28:6, when Esau saw that Isaac had blessed Jacob and sent him away from Paddan Aram to take him a wife from this, and that as he blessed him, he gave him charge, saying, "Thou shalt not take a wife of the daughters of Canaan." And Jacob obeyed his father and his mother and was gone to Paddan Aram. And Esau, seeing that the daughters of Canaan pleased not Isaac his father, then went Esau unto Ishmael and took unto the wives which he had Mahazatha, the daughter of Ishmael, Abraham's son, the sister of Nebiah, to be his wife. So again, I'd like to see this brother go in and break this down with the wives of these people, right? So the USA, a democratic republic, equals Greece, that's where they got the democracy from, equals Rome, that's where they got the word Republican from, worships the elves of the daughter of Babylon. So you see here's the same colors. And then they show you this all the time when you watch their movies. This lady right here, the goddess of Columbia, the capital of DC, which we know is laid out in Masonic order, right? The Royal Institute, just some of the other things that Esau runs. And we see this on the news all the time, but guess what? Nobody ever takes the time to actually go and find out who instituted these different institutes and what they stand for. The Royal Institute, the Club of Rome, the Council on Foreign Relations. You hear this all the time. You always see Hillary Clinton there too, right? The same lady that was with Martha Sager, the one that said she want to kill every black person that's on the earth. And then she said, I totally agree with her. I'm fond of her teachings and all this type of stuff. And then you got, when she running for president, the same people that she trying to kill is out here crying, holding up signs, voting for. This comes from a lack of understanding. And not only that, it comes from it just comes from laziness. The United Nations, right? It used to be the League of Nations when they first started all this stuff. We're going to show you guys that. The Trilateral Commission, Council or Committee of the 300s, who actually are the Olympians, the Knights of the Order of Garter. See, this stuff is real. Now, this is something else you got to look at. Amos 1:11-15. Thus says Yahuah, for 3 transgressions of Edom, and for 4, I will not revoke its punishment, because he pursued his brother with a sword, while he stifled his compassion. See, because they steady killing us all the time. And again, for those that's not, that's spiritual Israel, they're going to be coming for you too. See, and then what did he do? Then he stifled his brother's compassion. He done took the compassion or his inheritance away, because he got you calling on Jesus. Not only that, he got you not even understanding who your Elohim is and what the rules are for you. What your inheritance is. You have to keep the commandments, but then you don't want to do that. And then we scared to talk to people about the commandments. Can't be scared. That's your salvation right there. His anger also tore continually, and he maintained his fury forever. See, it's forever. Esau can never get in the kingdom. He will not get in the kingdom. Same thing I told that rabbi when I was at the VA and we was talking. I said, well, he said, well, no matter what, as long as I keep the statutes, commandments. I said, well, if you eat them, you ain't. Because it's a wrap. So how do you know it's him? Because we go to Genesis, it tells you he builds his nest up high like the eagle, up, way up. And this is a symbol. So when he's in Germany, boom, right? Descending the people of Rome, boom. Greece, boom. Egypt, eagle. Of course, we know USA, the Ottoman Turks. Remember, we talked about that last week. Boom, he got a double-headed eagle, right? Which is a sign of masonry, and you'll see a lot of Russians with this as well. Let's go to Jeremiah 49. We almost finished, y'all. I know y'all tired, but hey, you got to get to the bottom of this stuff. Jeremiah 49. I'm trying to show you who's around you, so you know all of us need to stop loving this place, man, and understand what's going on. You gotta get closer to Yah, no matter what. Jeremiah 49, verse 7. Concerning Edom, thus says Yahuah of hosts, right? So we know this is Yahuah Elohim talking. Is wisdom no more in Teman? Is counsel perished from the prudent? Is their wisdom vanished? Flee ye, turn back, dwell deep, O inhabitants of Dedan, for I will bring the calamity of Esau upon them, in time that I will visit him. If grape gatherers come to thee, would they not leave some gleaning grapes? If they was keeping the commandments, they would for the poor. If thieves by night, will they destroy till they have enough? But I have made Esau bare. I have uncovered his secret places, and he shall not be able to hide himself. His seed is spoiled, his brethren and his neighbors, and he is not. Leave the fatherless children. I will preserve them alive, and let thy widows trust in me. For thus says Yahuah, behold, they whose judgment was not to drink of the cup have assured drunkenness, or assuredly drunken, right? Because they done drunk it anyway. And art thou he that shall altogether go unpunished? Thou shalt not go unpunished, but thou shalt surely drink of it. For I have sworn by myself. Now, when he says that, ain't nothing else can change it. When he says, I have sworn by myself, or I swear, but there's no one greater, that's why I'm saying it myself, it's going to happen. It's nothing can be altered about that. Nothing. He says Yahuah, that Basra shall come, a desolation, a reproach, a waste, and a curse. And all the cities thereof shall be perpetual waste. I have heard a rumor from Yahuah, and an ambassador sent to the heathen, saying, gather you together and come against her and rise up and to the battle. For lo, I will make thee small among the heathen and despised among men. Right? And we know that Esau is despised among men for the ones that know who he is. But as soon as they say something, well, they're just clansmen. And the other thing is this anti-Semitism has to stop. Right? For lo, I will make thee small among the heathen and despised among men. Thy terribleness have deceived thee, and the pride of thine heart, O thou that dwellest in the clefts of the rocks. Where does the eagle put his nest at? High up in the clefts of the rocks. That holdest the height of the hill. Though thou shouldest make thy nest as high as the eagle, I will bring thee down from thence, says Yahuah. Also Edom shall be a desolation. Everyone that goeth by it shall be astonished, and shall hiss at all the plagues thereof. As in the overthrow of Sodom and Gomorrah, and as in the neighbor cities thereof, says Yahuah, no man shall abide there, neither shall the Son of Man dwell in it. Behold, he shall come up like a lion from the swelling of Jordan against the habitations of the strong. But I will suddenly make him run away from her, and who is a chosen man that I may appoint over her? For he is like me, and who will appoint me at the time? And who is that shepherd that will stand before me? Therefore, hear the counsel of Yahuah, that he hath taken against Edom, and his purposes that he hath proposed against the inhabitants of Teman. Surely the least of the flock shall draw them out. Surely he shall make their habitation desolate with them. The earth is moved at the noise of their fall, and the cry, the noise thereof, was heard in the Red Sea. Behold, he shall come up and fly as the eagle, and spread his wings over Basra. And at that day shall the heart of the mighty men of Edom be as the heart of a woman in pain. So this is what's coming. This is coming. So we got to be ready for this. So we got to get our mindset out of this system. So when he says here, we go back up here, back to Genesis, when he told him that his habitation was going to be the fatness of the earth, right? We know that fatness is H number 4928. It means royalty, right? He said, and this is the prophecy that he gave his son after he had lost his birthright. right? After he had sold his birthright. And he said that he was going, his reign or whatever was going to be like the cover of the earth, like the dew in the heaven, right? So we know that dew is all over the place. When you get up in the morning, walk through your grass, your feet wet. Okay, because every night the dew comes down and the dew is all over the earth. So it's the covered vegetation, land. So we see not only will he be rich and rule, he will spread his sickness everywhere. That's all you hear. The Jews this and the Jews that. They have been oppressed, even pastors telling you this. Please help them and send money so they can go home. But the truth is you have the Rothschild. These are the people that started putting their own people after the Balfour Declaration, started putting these people in Israel. So, and Esau said to his father, hast thou but one blessing, my father? Bless me. All right. Even me also, O my father. And Esau lifted up his voice and wept. And Isaac his father answered and said unto him, behold, thy dwelling shall be the fatness of the earth, and the dew of the heaven from above. And thy sword shall thou live. So by the sword is how he gonna live. And shall serve thy brother, and it shall come to pass when thou shalt have dominion, when you shall have dominance, that you shall break his yoke from off thy neck, which he ended up doing. And Esau hated Jacob because of the blessing wherewith his father blessed him. And Esau said in his heart, the days of mourning for my father are at hand. Then will I slay my brother Jacob. So this is who's behind this stuff that's happening to us. So you have Yashar, which represents the wheat, and Hiel or Hasatan or Esau that represents the tare. The wheat and the tare look alike, but are not identical. In this capacity we have and still are held by a people and system that doesn't believe in Yahuah. Most say that this book of our inheritance and the stories are fairy tales, and we have adopted their way of thinking, along with their way of life, their customs and language and religion, which breeds sin. Comparing the wheat and the tare, it shows us Yasha compared to Hasatan. One is false and one is true. Therefore, we must study and pray constantly to keep our bodies under subjection so we can clearly make a difference between the two and be able to spot the illusion offered us called Christianity, which will make the difference between life and death in the world to come. So Esau equals the tares, child of the wicked one, whose spiritual characteristics are associated with the kingdom of darkness. I'm not going to read these for time. Y'all can go and read these yourself. You got to understand this. Therefore, the Mashiach told us to let the wheat grow with the tare. The tare are there to prove you, to mold you, to groom you. We must know and understand all these things are used by Yahuah Elohim's purpose, right? Either you will be used for good or evil. The choice is yours. With him is strength and wisdom. The deceived and the deceiver are his. That's powerful right there. So Job 12 and 16, Job speaks of the wisdom of Yahuah. Isaiah 45 and 7, I form the light and create darkness. I bring prosperity and create disaster. I, Yahuah Elohim, I do all these things. Esau is a sustainer of Hasatan's system on this earth. Daniel 8 and 21, the rough goat, right? The king of Grecia. When you reject Yah, you are a part of this system. There's no other way. Either you with Yah or you with these people here. Point blank, period. This is why we're supposed to be out here trying to teach the people. This is why we're supposed to be out here trying to spread this information. It's not about being rough to nobody. It's about you trying to save their life. This is the last one. And we'll get to this next week because I'm going to show you where that scripture we just read about the lion and the eagle. See, all that has significance. This one too. So let's get to this and we done.
Selfish desires are burning like fires among those who hoard the gold as they continue to keep the people asleep and the truth from being told. Racism and greed will keep the people in need from getting what what's rightfully theirs. Cheating, stealing, and double dealing as they exploit the people's fears. And now Dow Jones owns the people's homes and all the surrounding land, buying and selling their humble dwelling in the name of the master plan. Cause paper money is like a bee without honey, with no stinger to back him up. And those who stole the people's gold are definitely corrupt. Credit cards, master charge, legacies of wills, real estate, stocks and bonds on coupon paper bills. And now the U.S. mints on paper prints millions every day, and use the eagle for their symbol, cause it's a bird of prey. And now the laws of peace and the hours of wars are clutched very tightly in the eagle's claws, filled with greed and lust. And on the back of the dollar bill is the words, "In God we trust." But the dollar bill is the only God, and they don't even trust each other. And for a few dollars more, they'd start a war to exploit some brother's mother. Then there's the pyramid that stands by itself, created by black people's knowledge and wealth. And over the pyramid hangs the devil's eye that stole from the truth and created the lie. Now I knew it means an endless amount stolen over the years. And Coeptus means a new empire of vampire millionaires. And novus is a Latin word meaning something new. And ordo means a way of life chosen by a few. Seclorum is a word that means to take from another. Knowledge, wisdom, and understanding stolen from the brother. Roman numerals on the base of the pyramid's face tell the date they began to exist, when they established this branch of hell in 1776. Now there are 13 layers of stone on the pyramid alone, an unfinished work of art. For 33 1/3 is high as a mason can go without falling apart. 13 stars in the original flag, 13 demons from the devil's bag, 13 berries and 13 leaves, 13 colonies of land-grabbing thieves, 13 owls in the eagle's claws, 67 corporations wage the devil's wars, 13 stripes on the eagle's shield, and these are the symbols on the U.S. seal. Now on the front of the dollar bill to the right of Washington's head is a small seal in the shape of a wheel with a secret that's been left unsaid. The symbols in the middle represent the riddle of the scales, the ruler, and the key. The square rule is a symbol from the craft of masonry. The scales represent Libra, the balance of the seventh sign. They also represent the just us, which you and I know is blind. The key unlocks the mysteries of the secrets of the seal, so that only the governed human would know what they reveal. The 4 words above form the last parts of the secrets of the seal, and tells how they fool the people into thinking paper money was real. Now Esau means the treasury, where they store the gold they stole, and Amur means to punish, like the slaves they bought and sold. Then Septent means 7, like a 1776, when the 13 devils gathered to unleash their bag of tricks. Then Sigil means the images they've created to fool the world, like the colors on Old Glory, the flag that they unfurl. Now red is for the color of the Indian man, white's for the devils who stole the land, blue's for the eyes that hypnotize with the tricks and traps they sprung. And even to this very same day, they all speak with forked tongue. And so the power's in the hands of the ruling classes, playing God with the fate of all the masses, so the people don't get any in the land of the plenty, cause E pluribus unum means one out of many.
All right, y'all. So we done. We are done. We are done. We are done. I know that's a little strong, but we got to get down to the reality of it. So,
you know what, Jeffrey? That's why they put Hitler in power and let him kill all the small Jews so they can steal all their treasures and put in effect the anti-Semitic laws.
Yep. And then you look at it, Hitler's mother was one of them as well.
Right.
Right.